So, Mark here from Rockaload. This evening, I am joined by the guys from Hush Money.
Man, I wish I could go back on losing the cops all on Jerusalem Road. Way back before the town was covered, city tags and everybody's brother. Just a small town way back in the hills, city sail full welfare and peace.
Hush Money are a US Southern Rock four-piece, all the way from Georgia, USA. And after releasing their latest album, Go Back Home, the guys are here this evening to tell me all about their plans for world domination in 2025. So listen, first and foremost, thanks very much for joining us. It's an absolute pleasure getting the opportunity to talk to you guys. I'm sure for some of our audience over here may be unfamiliar with the band, so give us a little bit of a brief history. When did the band sort of kick off, and when did you sort of get a stable lineup?
I guess all together we've been jamming and stuff since gosh, me and Nathaniel here, we started playing when I was 13, 14, and
Yeah.
we've been playing ever since then, but we haven't had the stable Hush Money lineup since about 2017-ish.
16, 17.
Yeah, somewhere in that area is when we finally got everything locked down. We went through a couple of different projects and finally landed on this one. So
Yeah, and you guys to date have like two EPs recorded and two albums, with the most recent one coming out there in 2024, Go Back Home.
yeah.
Does an album obviously is quite a snapshot in time of a band at any one time. Do you think the latest album then represents sort of where you are right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the new album is definitely where our headspace is for sure. We've went through a couple of different headspaces. I mean, you can kind of keep up with it as we go through the albums. I mean, we started off a little harder, a little heavier, maybe a little more angsty, I guess you could say. And after a while, we kind of just got to a point where it was, we were playing a bunch of live shows and mixing in cover songs and things like that. And our live show has always been a mix of like some hard rock, some rock and roll, some 90s grunge, some country, some, just all kinds of different stuff that we do during the cover set. And so I think we just kind of decided that we're all those things. And we don't have to be just one of them.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we did the industry standard in 2021, I believe is when we released that one. And it was definitely more of a rock and roll kind of jamming album. A lot of cool guitar riffs, a lot of cool, just stuff like that, But with the Go Back Home, we kind of went back home. We went back to our roots. I mean, we're from the Southern Appalachian Mountains, man, and that's kind of just bred into us as well. There's music that we grew up listening to as well that influenced us a lot on that one. So, yeah, it's definitely, if you could watch our albums, it's a snapshot of where our mindsets were in those time periods and where we are now. And so, yeah, it definitely, I would say, shows who we are and who we're becoming.
Yeah. And tell me about that sort of background of growing up in the Appalachian Mountains. It's got to be quite unique. It's for us in Europe, for example, it's quite far removed. You can only imagine what are the influences then around you. What are you listening to growing up, for example, that develops your sort of your thirst for music?
Yeah, I'll let Nathaniel go first on that one.
Right. Well, I mean, I listened to a lot of rock. I mean, 90s country. My mom was always listening to the country station. I mean, that was basically anywhere and everywhere we went. I mean, it was Kicks 1015. And then with my dad, it was old school, just old rock and roll. He loved REO Speedwagon. The Eagles is his favorite band ever. And then, the older I got into Metallica and Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, all the good groups from over and y'all on y'all side of the pond.
Yeah, our reach is far and wide.
Yeah. Oh yeah, musically it is
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
I think for me it was a mixture of the two as well. I grew up with my dad. My dad played music my whole life, and he was a old school country guy. He was your Waylon Jennings, Merle Haggard, down home country music. Not kind of like the stuff they play now. He's not a big fan, but he's a classic guy. Um, and then my mom was always much more of the rocker. She always, when we got in the car with my mom, it was the local station here out of Chattanooga, Tennessee called KZ 106, and they played all the classic rock. So they played, the Zeppelins, the Sabbath, the Aerosmith, you name it, they played it. And so you kind of got a lot of depth there, figuring out the rock and roll side of things. And then my dad's really hammering this country thing, and he's playing country, so it's like it just kind of all kind of blends together. I mean, obviously as a kid, you think the rock and roll is so much cooler. And to an extent, it kind of is, but then you get into the country side of things, and those guys were rock stars too, man. They were
Oh
doing
yeah.
the same stuff. They were just being quiet about it. So, um,
I don't know if they were
but
being quiet, man. They were.
yeah, those guys raised their own bit of hell, I'm sure,
Yeah.
so but just blending those two genres together creates kind of what we've got in like a southern rock vibe. You can't beat the southern out of us. Um we tried to not be southern rock, and it's just impossible, man. Everything that we write, everything that comes through, it just ends up with that southern twang on it. And at some point you've got to just let go and let it take control and do its thing, because that's who you are. So
Yeah, I suppose there's always that temptation when you're growing up in an environment like that. You want to do something different and stand out from the crowd, but the reality is that you keep gravitating back towards what you know, what you grew up listening to, and what speaks from inside. I suppose and you can't suppress that.
yeah, definitely, man.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. It's a hard row to hoe if you want to be somebody that you're not. So
Yeah, yeah. And musically, then, so for example, where did you actually get the opportunity to experience live shows? Where's the sort of venues close to you that you're able to go out and see bands?
oh man. Um
I mean,
we
Lakewood.
had
That was first,
Yeah.
or it's not even Lakewood anymore, but it's been about
No.
seven different things. But it's always going to be
Yeah.
Lakewood Amphitheater to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
The,
I
ma-
see
the
my
Masquerade.
Masquerade was always a big one. Um, the Tabernacle in Atlanta.
Yeah,
Um, that's a really cool venue, man. If you ever get a chance to see a show there, it's an old Catholic cathedral, or maybe it's not Catholic.
it's a
I don't
theater.
know.
It was like a
It's
theater or
it,
something.
it was an it was an old church, and so it was built with like acoustics in mind.
Yeah.
So they put the stage where the pulpit was, and they even left like the stained glass windows behind the pulpit there. And so it's a really cool venue, man, and it's got like a balcony above the floor. um Crazy stuff, man. I've seen some really cool shows there, and it's intimate. It's not a big venue. It's like maybe a 1-2,000 seater,
Mm.
and
It packs out.
it's oh man, it gets nut to butt in that place, and the energy is just there. It's a cool place. So the Tabernacle was always fun to go see shows at. Um, there's been many places that have opened and shut down, but there was a place in Chattanooga called Track 29 at one point. I probably went to
Oh yeah,
15 or 20
I went to a
shows at
bunch of
that
shows
place.
there.
Yeah. And that was always a fun joint too, but it unfortunately closed down right before the pandemic. So I don't know if that was the cause of it or not, but unfortunately, it's not there anymore.
Yeah. And
Cheap tickets there.
yeah, do you guys have to travel far then to see a show?
It's usually about an hour to an hour and a half to get
Okay.
to any decent sized
Yeah,
venues. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's like the other
I
side
mean,
of
if you want to go to like a festival,
yeah, it's like the other side of
that's usually a
Ireland for
few
us,
hours away.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
90 minutes in Ireland gets you to the next major capital. It feels like the end of the world, but for you guys, it's just a jaunt on the motorway.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. It's just I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
you got to drive 6 hours from where we're at to get to the state line to get to Florida. So
Yeah, it's crazy, crazy.
yeah.
I
And
know
so
that.
locally and closer to you, like, was there are there smaller bars, for example, that you could have went to see? Would there be bands coming through there in the local sort of scene, or would you have to go further?
Um, Kinda. I mean, I think the closest local place to us was about 45 minutes up the road, in Hiawassee. They have it's in Hiawassee, Georgia. They have a
They got a
fairgrounds up
theater.
there, and there's a
They have
concert
an
hall
amphitheater.
there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's about the closest place to our hometown that you could go see a show. There wasn't like a local. They don't have a lot of music venues in
Uh,
small town USA.
North
So
Georgia.
Yeah. And so then, so to
Yeah.
satisfy that thirst, then you guys have to really get in a car and travel.
oh yeah, you got to plan the trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Mm.
an event, so you have to buy the tickets a couple of
Yeah.
months ahead of time. Make sure you got off of work. You've got everything scheduled, and you know it's a whole ordeal
Yeah.
to get it going. So you can't
Yeah.
just come home on a Tuesday and be like, "Hey, there's a show down here. Let's go check it out."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
so
sort of forget how lucky
I
we
wish it
are.
was like that, but
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah. Like, you know,
It was like that.
go on ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say we're so lucky that we have venues literally on our
I
doorstep,
was,
25 minutes, 30
yeah.
minutes away that we can go to. There's gigs every night of the week, you know?
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But expensive. An expensive hobby as
Uh,
well.
It is. It can be. It can be
yeah,
for
we lived it.
sure.
Uh, when we lived in Dalton for a while, going to Chattanooga wasn't that bad. That was about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. We
Yeah.
lived in a little college town about 35 minutes south of Chattanooga, in my early 20s. And so that wasn't too bad. That was a lot of fun because you were close to the action over there. But, you know, we traded the convenience for a little peace of mind out in the country. So,
Yeah. And so then, so the choice of being a musician, so obviously it means that you're going to be on the road quite a bit, especially in the States because of the distance between venues. And so what makes somebody want to be a musician in the United States of America when it seems so challenging?
oh, you gotta love it. You've just gotta love it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't do it for any other reason. You've gotta when you pick up that instrument and you set off, man, you've gotta love what you do. It's worth all the struggle, all the loading in the heavy ass equipment, you know, walking up 3 flights of stairs, traveling 2.5 hours to get there, just so you can get on stage and play your music. Just so
Yeah.
you can do that. If you're not doing it for the love of it, you'll never last.
Yeah.
You'll never get very
Yeah.
far. If you're
You'll
doing it for
burn
the
out.
money, if you're doing it for the money, you're damn sure not gonna make it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause, but yeah, man, it's just for the love of it. And I think that as a all, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I can about 95% tell you that all four members of this group, we love it. We just love to get up there and do it.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're still going. It's there's for no other reason.
Yeah, I think passion has to be the main driver, doesn't it? Because if you're in it for anything else, then you're starting off on the wrong foot. You know, you've got to want it really at the start, and eventually the cream always rises to the top, and you'll get your due rewards. Hopefully, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully you cross your fingers to be that cream, but
Yeah, there's no guarantees.
you're not always. You're not always.
Yeah.
No
No
guarantees.
guarantee.
You're hoping for the best on it, man. But and like I said before, all you can do is be you. Um, write the truest music you know how, put it out there wholeheartedly, and let people decide if they can connect with you or not.
Yeah,
Um, and and in that way, I guess the cream rises to that top. I mean, I think I've always said as a songwriter, like if my song gets out there and helps one person make it through a hard time or I mean, a good time, if it helps them have a good time, if it helps them in any way, shape, or form, man, I've done my job as a musician. I've done my job as a songwriter. Like, I've shared an emotion with somebody so they know they're not alone in a situation. Somebody else has felt it too. So I think that's probably the most rewarding thing is when people come up to you and you're like, man, that song means a lot to me.
Mm.
You're like, that's all I do it for.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, free beers and fat chicks, makes a difference.
Yeah.
There's other perks. There's other
Yeah,
perks.
Oh
Yeah.
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 Uh,
And so tell me
I
this.
don't know. Places around here, they get starting to get kind of stingy with the free beer thing.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Painful, painful. So tell me this, for being so rural, then
Uh,
how do you guys approach building up an audience? How do you, what's the strategy for a band like yourselves in a rural area?
So it's kind of tough. When you're playing the type of music that we play, um, in the area that we're in, when you get into the southern Appalachian Mountains, it's a lot of bluegrass.
Hmm.
A lot of bluegrass music, a lot of like old country type stuff. And so what we're doing for the longest time was kind of looked at as just like, "Ugh, I don't know about that." Um, and so what we've had to do
uh,
is what we've had to do is kind of rework our strategy and spread out to work in.
Hmm.
Um, because we've got to different places that accept who we are and what we do, and it makes a bigger impact on them. And when it does that, like when we went to the UK last May, it was a big deal to our hometown. Like we were going to another country to play music, like nobody else is doing that, and so it kind of created a hype. And all of a sudden, all these people that were going, "That's a little too much for us, guys." All of a sudden, they're going, "Oh, wait a second, what did I miss? Did I miss something? Like you're going to another country?" And
Hmm.
so they start asking you like, "Hey, when you guys leaving out? Hey, I heard that new song y'all
mhm.
released. Hey, I seen this. I seen y'all were doing that." And it's like, yeah, it's like we've been doing this, but
Yeah,
it just took us leaving to make them realize that what we were doing was something, of some substance, I hope. So, you
Yeah.
know, I think
yeah.
that's been kind of our thing is we've got to get away from home to come back.
Yeah, I always crack a joke when I talk to musicians saying that there's this quote, I think it's out of the Bible. It says like a prophet is never accepted in his hometown. And I think, when it comes to musicians,
Yes.
when you have a local
That's
band,
exactly right.
yeah, you never appreciate a local band, until all of a sudden they make it, and then all of a sudden you take notice, and it's really important for local people to get out and support up and coming young bands because you've got to champion the local musicians, you've got to champion the local venues and
Yeah.
make sure that they still survive and that these guys have opportunities
Mm,
to spread their wings.
Yeah, man. I
yeah.
mean, even the Beatles were a hometown band at one point,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. So it's like,
Everybody starts
and
somewhere.
Yeah.
it's funny you bring up the biblical thing because I was actually reading my Bible the other night and I came across this thing in Matthew where it's talking about Jesus was preaching in his hometown and they were all just saying like, "Aren't you the carpenter's son?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, why are you like doing all?" They basically just kind of give him a lot of grief because like it's his hometown. They're like, "Aren't you just that guy?" And I sent it to my brother, and I was like, "Look, man, even Jesus had a hard time convincing his hometown. We're not the only ones in that boat."
Yeah, no, exactly. It's very true.
Yeah.
It's very true. And if you think about some of
Yeah,
the greats
Yeah.
like Jimi Hendrix made it big in England first and then came back home,
yep,
as a
Yeah.
champion,
yeah,
so you have to do
yeah.
it
He's a
sometimes.
Seattle guy.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
yeah. So that's kind of been our game plan since we kind of figured out that it just wasn't going to happen in our hometown.
Mm,
We were told by all kinds of people like if you can't sell out your hometown, then you can't sell out anywhere. And it's like
Yeah.
I, there's some truth in that, I guess, but like I think that all depends on what your hometown is and what kind of
yeah,
music you're making.
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it could definitely work the other way around. Like you're not going to sell out your hometown until you sell out, another city.
Yeah.
And so,
And as you touched on coming to England, for example, so I'm sure you find that there's quite a big audience for your genre of music, that sort of southern rock and outlaw country and stuff like that there. It's so big over here, especially in the
yeah,
UK. It's a real resurgence, like
Yeah.
it's a crest of a wave right now. There's so many bands, especially from the States, from Blackberry Smoke, Blackstone
Mm,
Cherry, and
yeah.
even like
yeah.
so there's so many bands coming across now that are really riding a crest of a wave, and I'm sure you guys can take advantage of that as well.
We're
Yeah.
hoping to. We're definitely hoping
Yeah.
to. Yeah, that's the funny
Yeah.
thing. When we got over there, we were told by another person that like they're rock, all rock, all rock. And we were like, okay, okay, we'll kind of gear our set to the rock thing.
Mm.
And we got over there, and like every pub we went into, every venue we went
Every
into, like
restaurant.
yeah, it was just like all they were playing. Like we would hear like Waylon Jennings on the radio, and I'm like. Are we, are we like in the same country this person was talking about?
Yeah,
Because this doesn't sound like rock. This sounds like everybody's wanting to hear what we're doing. So
yeah,
Yeah.
um, it kind of opened our eyes a little bit. So if we ever get the opportunity to make it back over there, I think we're gonna do things a little differently.
yeah. It's all it's a
Yeah.
trial and error, isn't it? It's a bit of a learning experience, especially making that leap across the pond. For you guys, it's a massive commitment as well, coming so far. When you were
Yeah.
here the last time, did you do a tour of multiple venues, or was it more sort of focused?
We kind
Go
of went
ahead though.
around. I mean, we stayed in what, like the Midlands and Northern, pretty much. I
Hmm.
mean, we didn't really go south. I mean, what was the furthest south we went? Liverpool,
I think Birmingham.
but
Well,
we didn't
Liverpool's
play.
up
Was it
north. Yeah.
Birmingham?
Mhm.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, we were the
Oh no, I
furthest
get
south
them
we
mixed
made it
up.
was Birmingham. We hit I think 7 or 8 different cities. It was Newcastle. We're
We
in
played in Edinburgh,
Edinburgh. Yeah. So we stayed Midlands up, but we did hit
Wolverhampton.
about yeah, we hit about 7 or 8 different cities.
Yeah,
So that was cool because over there, man, all your cities have a different
Oh
vibe.
yeah,
Like it's so
yeah, very much
crazy.
so. Yeah, yeah. It's a
Uh,
yeah.
It's
It's a unique part of the world. The UK is quite different, even from north to south, as you say, and even in Ireland again. Different cultures and different, people are just. But the music is the same thing that ties everybody together. The love of either rock, metal, country, whatever it is. That's when you see the passion within the UK. The big music lovers, and it doesn't matter what day of the week, they'll be out championing bands in their venues.
I definitely get that, man. The
Yeah.
the crowds over there were just different.
Yeah.
They're different than the U.S. crowds.
Yeah,
They
they came to
they
see the show.
yeah, like here a lot of
I
times
mean,
we end up being a background music band. Like they're at the bar to watch the football game,
Yeah.
and we just happen to be there.
Yeah.
And so if we catch their eye, then great. But most of the time they're not
yeah,
But over there it was so crazy. Like they'd have like the games on in the pubs and stuff like that. But when the music started, like they turned the TVs off, everybody turned around and went straight to the music.
Yeah.
And so it was just a crazy like juxtaposition to what we were used to over here. And so yeah, it was awesome having that over there. It was so much
yeah.
fun.
That's
Oh yeah, we
good.
had a blast.
And so tell me about the latest album then. When were the songs written for that?
So it's been a work in progress for a long time if you really want to like get technical with it. There's a couple of the songs that we wrote probably 10 years ago.
All right, okay.
But this was kind of in the period of time when we were like, well, we don't want to be Southern rock. We want to
Yeah.
be rock.
Yeah,
And so we just kind of put those songs on the back burner and we put them on a shelf and just let them gather dust. Um, and then we kind of had, we were doing our thing, and then COVID hit in 2020, and we had probably 70 to 80 shows booked out that year, and just everything fell apart. We had
Mm.
nothing. People were just
Oh
calling
yeah,
us
but
left and right, like, "Hey, we're canceling the show. Hey, we're canceling the show." And so we were just like up the creek without a paddle. I mean,
Mm.
we were shit out of luck. And then a little while after that, some of the venues started kind of opening back up with a little bit of restrictions and this and that. And so they were having acoustic bands. So they wanted one or two guys to come in and play acoustic songs for their background, whatever.
Mm.
And so we were like, well, we need
yeah,
some money, we need some shows. Let's get on that. And so me and the lead guitar player Caleb got together and started working out a set, working out a bunch of cover songs that we could do that were acoustic friendly and brewery friendly and easy listening and all that stuff. And so we started doing that. And in that period of time, I think us really going through those songs put us in a headspace. And we probably wrote more of the album during that time period than any other time period. So if you want to get technical, it was like 10 years.
20,
But if you want to know, like the bulk of the album was written within like a year span. And we had probably 28 to 30 songs. I can't remember exactly what it was that we narrowed down into the Go Back Home album. So we've still got a bunch of songs on a shelf that are good enough to be recorded. We just haven't, we narrowed it down, but did a lot of writing during that period of time because we had a lot of downtime too.
Yeah.
So um, yeah, so we're most of that album was written in a pretty short time frame. Um, just got in a moment, man, and caught the wave, and
Yeah.
they
Well,
just started falling out
yeah,
of us. It was crazy. It was just song after song after song, and it was just like, man, we got another one.
yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good.
It was pretty cool.
You had like 13 songs on the album, which when I saw that, actually, it's quite a rare thing because so many artists don't put out too many tracks anymore. It's almost as if like the old adage of an LP, like a long play, is gone now, and so many artists are looking at shorter things, whether it be EPs or even just like an album of maybe 8 or 9 tracks these days. So I was surprised to see 13, which obviously
mm,
meant you had a lot of tracks written to choose from, which was good.
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, we had an abundance. And they
Yeah.
were, like I said, they were all great songs, in our opinion. Um,
oh yeah,
but we had to condense them down, and I think we got to the 13 number because it was just like we couldn't we couldn't we couldn't throw those out. Like our
Yeah.
heart just wouldn't bring us to throw those out. It was just like
uh,
it was like we need about 10 songs, and it's like, oh man, I don't want to get rid of three of these songs. Like I'm gonna be throwing out
uh,
three really great songs.
Yeah.
So
It's I always
we
ask
landed on the
musicians that.
13, and
Yeah. I always ask that question because it must be hard sometimes to make the cut, and as you say, put aside a song or cut songs altogether and bin them because I'm sure they're like your babies, you've been carrying them for the last year or two and you've nurtured them and all of a sudden then somebody says, no, that's not making the grade, and, you know, can't be easy.
it hurts a little bit, but I don't think any of us are that attached to them. We don't get married to the songs.
uh,
We're always, because in the writing process, like I may write the lyrics to the song, but that doesn't mean that the way that I had it wrote down at my house is the way it's going to come out when we go to do it as a band.
Yeah.
It could change entirely. And so you can't be
oh
married to
yeah,
one idea working with four other guys.
Yeah.
Nathaniel may have
yeah,
a different bass line that he wants to throw in there that changes the dynamic of the song entirely. And so you just got to roll with it. And typically we come out with some
yeah.
pretty great end things.
Yeah.
Uh, but
They get hashed out a lot though before before it happens. Now
Yeah.
that's
they
what
go
nobody
through
else
what
gets to see.
yeah, they go through what we like to call the hush money meat grinder.
Yeah.
We all throw our ideas in, and then it just gets ground up into whatever comes out the other end. So um and that's why you'll never see on one of our albums that, you know, I have songwriter, credits and this person has this credits and this person has that credits. Every song we put out it's hush money. The whole band.
Mm.
Mhm.
It's because the
Yeah.
song doesn't happen. Song doesn't happen without all four people, and so nobody gets any more credit than the other person. And so, it is a it can be a painful process, but it's satisfying once you get it out.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure quite a rewarding process when you've gone through that labor of love and come out the other side with a something you can hold in your hand and say, "We've created that."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so tell me about the you work
Yes.
Yeah.
you
Yes.
worked with Matt Washburn. Out of curiosity, what brought you to Matt's store, and what was the decision making process there?
So honestly, it was a Google search.
Mm,
Um, and he actually happened to be not very far from where we do all our rehearsals.
okay.
Um, and so we searched it and we went over there and we kind of had like a meet and greet with him, and it was just a vibe. When you walked into his studio and you met him and you talked to him, he just got it.
Mm,
So he understood what we were trying to get out of it, and really helped us work through a lot of things. I mean, he's partially to blame a lot of the um, for a lot of the stuff on Go Back Home. He just
Oh yeah.
he knows how to get the best out of you, and
mm,
so we just keep going back to him because it's a comfortable place at this point now, and we've built a relationship with him where he can look at us and be like, "Hey, stop doing that. It sucks." And we're like, "Okay."
you can take that
Yeah.
from them.
Yeah. Pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
so um
Well, the thing
and
is,
that's
we
and
give it
that's
right back. We give.
yeah, we give each other pretty hard time, but it's all in fun. But yeah, I mean, he can definitely look at us and be like, "Hey, you got to stop doing that. It don't sound good." And nobody gets their feelings hurt because we trust him. We're like, "Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so
Yeah.
what do we do now?" And so anybody that's this in this area close by, I would suggest Matt Washburn over pretty much any engineer in the area. I mean,
Oh yeah.
he's fantastic. But
He's like the fifth member of the band, I suppose.
um, yeah, I mean, kind of. I would almost say the sixth. We have another one that we have a
Oh yeah.
lady.
Cindy.
Yeah, we have a
Yeah.
lady up
Cindy.
In Blue Ridge, Georgia. She runs a record shop called Big Frog Music, and she sells all of our merchandise out of her record shop,
Okay.
and has been probably one of the biggest advocates for the band since the day we met her. Um, and she's the real deal, man. Like, she is like your old school record shop owner. Like, she's not there for the money. She's there because she loves music,
Yeah.
and it's the coolest thing to go in there and talk to her. But yeah, we consider her the fifth member, and then Matt's the sixth member. So you just kind of you just build a team of positive people around you, man, and you end up with
Yeah, well, that's
what we
that's the
got going
truth. That's
on.
the truth. You need that sort of circle of people around you. You can't do it yourselves as a band. You need people to champion you, and then hopefully it just builds and builds and builds, and before you know it, you have an army behind you, don't you?
Oh yeah,
That's
oh
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we've done so far, man. We've been through some not so loyal people. We've been
Mm,
through some, people that we fell out with that just didn't work out. Maybe it's a clash of personalities. We all have very strong personalities, so
mm,
sometimes it just don't work. But I think the team that we've built so far and the team that helps us out are just they're A plus people, man.
yeah,
Um, couldn't ask for better support team.
yeah,
And that includes Wes, man. Wes over at O'Neill. He just has been a godsend, man. That dude, he works his ass off and gets things done. So it's yeah, he's definitely on the team as well, man, for
yeah.
sure.
Well, that's good to hear. Good to hear. You want those sort of people driving for you, behind you, because as you say yourself, you want to be focused on the music, and hopefully have people around you who can look after everything else. And it'll all fall into place. And tell me then, what have you guys got planned for 2025?
So we're off to the races on 2025, man. We've been playing shows everywhere we can get them. I mean, we've made a trip to Alabama. We've been Middle Georgia. Yeah, and then we're actually on our way tomorrow to the north side of North Carolina. We've got to make a 7-hour drive for a show tomorrow.
Okay, wow.
So it's gonna be interesting. You put 4 grown men in a vehicle to go 7 hours. We'll see how it goes. Well,
Yeah.
hopefully there's only one fight.
Yeah, there'll be some songs written about that road trip.
There very well could be.
It's very possible. Very possible.
We're working as they come, man. Booking shows as much as we can. We're working on new music all the time, so we're always trying to put new things together. We're working on that as well. I don't know if we'll get to any of that in 2025. We're pretty focused right now on really getting this Go Back Home thing off the ground and working on that side of things and making sure that everybody gets to hear that and it gets its fair shake. And then, but we're always working on new stuff, man. Always working on playing shows, and that's our 2025 in a nutshell. Is play as many shows as we can and write as much new music as we can.
Yeah, it's just go graft. That's all you can do, really, and hopefully you hit something on the head somewhere, and it opens another door, and opportunities come a knocking. It's nothing else for it but keeping the head down and working hard.
Oh yeah, man, we've been beating our head against that wall for a while.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll come down eventually. Yeah, I mean we're grassroots, man. We don't have a label. Yeah. We don't have anybody in the know that's throwing our name around to people and just kind of we're grassroots in it. We're from the bottom, doing it all ourselves, trying to figure it out. And when I say doing it all ourselves, I don't mean we're doing all the work. I mean obviously people like Matt and Cindy and Wes and all these people that are around us doing all this stuff for us. But it's
a DIY approach. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And we're building a business, man. And and so these folks are our trusted advisors. So
well, that's it. You got to put your faith in some people once in a while, and just hopefully it'll all be worth it in the end. Well, listen, guys, thank you very much for your time. Absolute pleasure talking to you, and I'll keep a close eye on how 2025 goes for you guys. Best of luck with it all.
Oh, thank you so much for having us on here, man. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Not a problem. Look, again, best of luck, and hopefully we'll see you and names up in lights in the next 12 months somewhere.
We'll see, hopefully.
Okay. Take care of yourselves, guys. We'll talk to you again.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye.
Cheers.
Man, I wish I could go back home.